Hey YouTubers, Rob here with another Commodore 64 game. This time we're looking at one which could be considered a little controversial, but it's the Access game Raid Over Moscow, originally released by them in 1984, and for those in Europe, was brought over by US Gold. I guess the controversy is because the game's fairly Cold War nature, but we'll dive in. I'll pick beginner. The basic idea is that there's a whole bunch, the backstories I remember, the cassette version sadly doesn't have the introduction sequence, but essentially is, talks broke down, and there of course have been missiles flying. You're in charge of a defense outpost in orbit which needs to intercept the missile centers that take him out. So this is our first overview map. It tells us got confirmation we've got an enemy launch, where it's headed, and our time limit, and that's how long we have to launch planes, get down, launch aircraft, get to the target site, and take it out. So first thing we do is we cover and launch, and this sequence is basically the game. If you ever played the earlier game Beachhead, this has the same sort of flow of these sort of small little arcade sequences. This case we're taking off, so the idea is we need to take off from a sort of zero-G environment and leave the station. So use the joystick left, right, fire gives you a bit of altitude, up for thrust, F7 opens the doors. Once you're out, you can now see there's a little blip that's sort of near the space station. That's the current fighter I've launched. The missiles are the cluster of 4 blips. And what I need to do now, this is essentially I'm just flying to the launch site, which is indicated in white. There's no danger in this sequence unless you're taking too long. It's just a brief. Now we've entered. Now we're approaching the launch site, and the idea of this sequence is you're just flying through. Need to avoid being shot down or colliding with things. On the easiest difficulty level, you can't crash into the ground. On the harder difficulties, you can. On those harder difficulties, you also start with less planes, which really matters towards the end of the game. But in this case, basic plane controls up to decrease height, down to increase it, left and right to turn, fire to fire your plane's cannons, and basically take out all the defense. Take out the defenses as you approach. In this case, we've approached, and we've basically got 4.5 minutes to do that. Now, this sequence, next sequence, we're going to jump to the missile silo, and the idea is we need to take the one in the center out. The 4 that are on both sides are really for bonuses. You get more points, and if you have time, you can go for them. They also give you extra lives if you have less than 9 planes in reserve. Available, because really you've got 8 reserve at the moment, and you really just need to avoid this and then lock on. You can sort of see my plane flash a bit. Now it's turned blue. That's when you've lined up with one of the targets. So in this case, we'll line up. Taking that 4th one out. Now let's just take the last one out and complete this mission, which we've done. Silo's been taken out, and we've taken that first set of missiles out, and it's harmless. Now, what's going to happen is a new launch is going to be triggered, and we have to do the same thing again. So there are 3 launch sites you need to clear in this manner before you perform the final raid. So I'll pretty much just run through this and try to keep it fairly quick. So the final raid is where another two sequences that run that you need to. They're a little more different. They're actually pretty hard. I've actually never been able to win this. And when I was playing before, I got to the final sequence but couldn't win it, which is sort of gives you the bad ending. Well, I guess the good but not best ending, because technically the bad ending would be if all the US cities were taken out. I mean, and that's, I guess, in a way, this game's a product of its time. Being an early 1980s release, you're going to expect that, especially from an American software company, you're going to expect that there is that sort of the Cold War vibe. I mean, it's why we got Missile Command. And Missile Command itself is an excellent game, but there's a good series of articles. There's a good article that was written a few months ago. I will dig it up and link it, that talked about that sort of impact. But in this case, I mean, me playing this as someone born in the very early 80s who wasn't aware of most of those events, and quite frankly, is in a far enough part of the world from either side of the Cold War. It's sort of an interesting scenario. So now we're at our second silo. I actually really like the way, whilst the presentation's fairly Spartan, I really like the way they change your sprite color when you're lined up in that phase. I like the sort of presentation. I like the little sequences. I like having to do this launch. It's not just fly or pick a number of fighters as more strategic way. You actually have to launch. And you can see, you've got sort of physics in terms of positioning. Because you sort of fly asteroid style, you have a slight degree of gravity, you have to get the velocity come out. And I like that detail. Like, the map here is pretty basic. And the ground approach section is fairly primitive. But I think for what they were doing, it's actually a fun little game. But yeah, I could understand that there's a lot of cases where this may not be a game that a lot of people would like to play. And I can fully understand if you think it trivializes that point in history. To be honest, thinking about it critically now, this game is 29 years old, and we've long been past that point of history, and it can be one of those things that might think it's true, which is a legitimate point, which is why this is a game I enjoyed playing, and it was one I thought would be cool to look at again. I haven't played in a very long time, actually, and I thought, maybe it was possibly not quite. I had considered whether it was worth doing or not, but it's still a fun one. I think the controls are very fluid, the graphics are very fluid. I mean, they are simplistic, so they're not, it's not using it's not really pushing the hardware, but the game is very smooth scrolling, it doesn't flicker, it doesn't glitch. And I always think that's a good thing. Okay, now we've taken out the third launch site. We're now doing an approach to Moscow. In this case, you can see the little aircraft bar at the bottom of the screen has all the aircraft lit up, as this is sort of that final approach. So as a result, all your available aircraft are launched, and you don't need to launch those. So, and here we are. So we're now out front of the main defense complex. The goal here is to take out all of the infantry and the tank, and also to open the 5 green doors. And so you're moving left to right. You need to open them. Even though technically you really just need to have that middle one opened, you need to blow the rest so you know. So in this case, one thing I like, there is no time limit at this point. Now we've got the doors opened. You can destroy the various towers for extra points. Right now I think that's... I really won't bother with that just to keep the playtime a little short. So now we've done that, next thing we need to do is take out all these infantry. Okay. I will admit, one thing I actually do quite like the sound effects in this game. One of the things is, much as I love the C64 SID chip, explosions aren't really what it's best for. I mean, it's designed as a music synthesizer, not a... Okay, all we need to do now is take out that one last soldier. Arg. Okay, and we're on to the final sequence now. We should flip over. In this case, this little robot is maintaining the core of the reactor, and your job is to take it out with grenades on discs. So in other words, it gets a little, I guess, for want of a better point, Tron-like. So the idea is you have to fire those discs and hit the back of the robot. It's shielded from the front. And the idea is basically fling discs. The controls at this point are left and right. To move up or down, control the laser target on the back wall. As I said, you need to hit from the back wall and hit the robot from behind. And again, as you change difficulty levels, there's actually more robots. On this level, there's only 2 robots you need to destroy. Like I said, I was playing this earlier. I didn't do so well. Seem to be doing a bit better now. I'm going to lose my disc and my soldier. Oops. Okay. So you can see in this case, this first robot is fairly easy. It's fairly slow. And whilst it is firing at you, it's not that chaotic. It gets much more chaotic when you've actually taken... damn it. Okay. Gets a lot more chaotic with the last robot. As this point, the robot neglects to maintain the reactor, which means that you're against the time limit. And that's actually where I've consistently not been able to beat it. As you can sort of see, I'm not the best at actually completing this minigame properly. I mean, I never used to get this far. When I was younger, I never used to be able to get past the front gate. Okay, so we've destroyed the first robot, and you can now see we have an ETCM countdown, estimated time until critical mass. That means we now have about 1:50 to destroy this next robot. And if we don't, we get the good, but not great ending. Like, I actually love that for a game released in 1984, it actually has multiple victory endings. Victory in inverted quotes. Ah, damn it. I mean, controls itself, I think the setup they use makes a lot of sense if you're playing from a perspective of... Excellent. One minute remaining. Alright. I think there's another 2 hits I have to make. Yeah, every time I play this sequence, I always do get slightly reminded of Tron for obvious reasons. The whole throwing discs, in this case there. Ah, that was a good hit. I thought I was going to miss, but in this case, obviously not. So we're running out of time here, which is not good. And of course, what happens is if you run out of discs, you actually have to go out the front and enter the compound again. Damn it! We are not going to win this. And I thought I was doing so well. Oh, we have! We have! This technically is now a long play of Raid over Moscow, as I've just won the game. Skate with 14 seconds left. And there we go. That has been the defense complex, and we've seen our fighters leaving. Well, 8 out of 9. But still, there we are. That's Raid over Moscow. It's actually quite a fun game. Understandably, I guess you could say it's a little controversial, but it's actually fun and a fun little arcade challenge to play. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I look forward to bringing you another one shortly. Thanks. Bye.